Welcome, fellow YouTube traveler. I'm Baronen and I'm on a mission to learn art. With this video, I'm starting a new series called Portrait Painting Exercises, where I go over one type of exercise in each video, talking a little bit about why and how to do it, while showing you my process. A lot of these exercises will work for any kind of subject, but I'm applying it specifically to portraits, because that's what I'm trying to get better at the moment. And I won't only paint human portraits, but also dragons and other fantastical beings, because I want to be able to apply these skills I build on my world building project Outrum. If you're interested in that, you can check it out up here in the corner. With that said, let's get started. As you might have guessed from the title and the footage running in the background, this first exercise is a two-value study. The limitation is that you can only use two values, believe it or not. This is such a good exercise for painting in general, and I have started to do at least one of these every day to sharpen my skills. If you're completely new to painting or this kind of study, it might be good to start with something easier than portrait references. I recommend starting with finding references with simple shapes in harsh lighting conditions. And if you don't know where to look, I like to go to Pinterest when looking for references. This is a great way to get started with painting and this type of exercise, since there are few details to pick out, so you can focus on the larger shapes. Anyway, when you have done your share of simpler studies, you can move on to doing something harder, like portraits. And for this exercise, I found that it is easier if you find references with hard light. Pictures where the shadows are relatively sharp. But if you really want to challenge yourself, you can try it with a reference that has really dim lighting, to see if your skills can handle it. With the reference picked out, it is time to start painting. So I pick two values, one light and one dark. They don't have to be black and white, they can be whatever you want them to be, as long as there is a clear difference between them. With the values chosen, the first step is to try to define the largest shapes, using the light value for the light shapes and the dark value for the dark shapes. On some of these, I did the entire basic silhouette and then carved shapes into it. With the largest shapes defined, you can move on to smaller and smaller details to make it as detailed as you want. You can take as long as you want with this, but the smallest details are not the main focus of this exercise. For me, each one of these took me between 15 and 25 minutes, and I think that is a good time to aim for. And that is the entire exercise. Now, you might wonder what this is good for, and that is what I will try to tell you right now. The first thing is that it trains you to see your subject in the context of light family and shadow family, to see where the light is able to reach the subject and where it isn't. This is a very good foundation to stand on when moving on to a little bit more complicated lighting concepts, like halftones, highlights, ambient occlusion, and ambient light. The second thing it is really good for is to train you to see things as shapes. And this is good for multiple reasons. When specifically talking about human portraits, it is good because you start to learn which shapes the human face consists of and what light and shadow shapes are common. When talking more about design, it is great because you get to learn which shapes are appealing to look at and what different shapes tell you about what you're painting. The third thing that it is good for is that if you do it in the way I have described to you here, you will build the habit of starting with large shapes and then moving on to smaller and smaller shapes as you go. This will make you make a lot fewer mistakes than if you work with smaller details from the beginning. And that's it. Thank you so much for sitting with me through this whole thing. If you watched all the way to this point, I want to encourage you to try this exercise and see what it gives you, and follow along in this series to level up your painting skills. If you don't want to miss the next upload, I recommend that you subscribe to this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like. With that said, I want to thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.